Welcome back to another episode of Learn to Cook on a Budget with Erin, and this is the ultimate budget hack, especially when it comes to saving money on chicken. We are learning how to cook a whole chicken in the slow cooker, and we're also going to go over the 3 reasons why we want to do that. I'm going to break down the entire process for you, getting it ready for the slow cooker, as well as everything you need to do once it has finished slow cooking. You're going to be amazed at what we get out of this whole chicken. The first reason that we want to cook a whole chicken in the slow cooker is the chicken. When you buy it as a whole chicken, it's literally the most affordable per pound chicken option that you're going to find in your store. And you're going to get both meat and stock from cooking it in the slow cooker. The second reason that we want to cook a whole chicken in the slow cooker is because the slow cooker is doing all the work. It is doing a beautiful job of slow cooking and softening all of the white meat and dark meat that is in the whole chicken, and it makes the most beautiful, flavorful stock as well. And reason number 3 is you get so much from the whole chicken. I've already shared this, but you're getting the white meat and the dark meat and the stock. You're going to be amazed. We're going to dilute some of that stock to use for a meal later. We're also going to pour some of that stock into ice cube trays, so you have like a concentrated stock that you can use. Just take an ice cube or 2 or 3 out and add it to your recipe. Let's get this whole chicken into the slow cooker. So I'm going to just transfer the chicken in the bag right into the slow cooker, and then I'm going to cut the top, and we want all of the chicken and the juice from what's in this container, in this bag, to go in there. This one does not have the neck and the giblets, but if it does, you can just go ahead and leave it all in there. It's going to add that extra flavor. So I'm just going to cut all the way around the side, and then we're going to lay the chicken not this direction. Let me flip it. So I want the breast on top and the drumsticks on top. Okay, so you should be able to see the wing, the breast, and the drumstick on top. All of those juices in there, the chicken's gonna release more, and that's gonna create that stock. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just cut the celery, but before I do that, I gotta wash it. It's a little earthy celery here, usually towards the stem. And this is just adding that extra bit of flavor to the stock. Of course, you can serve it with your chicken if you'd like, just like that. It's super fast and easy. Just sprinkle around the chicken, underneath, a little bit on top, a little on the sides. Next, so I'm gonna just cut this onion into kind of chunks, essentially. And also for flavor of the stock is really what this is for. You can, again, enjoy the onion. It's gonna be super soft, almost melted once it is cooked and slow cooked like this. And it's really gonna add a nice flavor. If you don't wanna buy an onion, you don't have to, but I would suggest some sort of a minced chopped onion or an onion powder. I think onions are really great flavor, both for the chicken and the stock. So just lightly chop and then just sprinkle. It's all gonna get, it'll move around a little in there, but we're just sprinkling over the top. Okay, next I'm gonna do the carrots. And before I peel them, I'm gonna lop the tops and bottoms off. So let me do this in like sections here. And then we will peel with our magical Sharple. There are 2 things I don't put in the disposal: carrot peels and potato peels. So this is the Sharple, and it's super magical. The cover has a little metal bead or ball, I guess, and when you open and close it, it sharpens. So you're gonna always have a sharpened peeler I was gonna say a sharpened sharpener, sharpened peeler. Love this guy. It also has an angle already built in, so it's the right angle for peeling, like with your hand and the food and the way the blade is, so it's perfect. And I always peel directly onto the counter. I find it easier to clean up this way. You could peel into a bowl or maybe maybe sometimes like at the produce bag, I'll use that. But I'm just gonna peel directly onto the counter. We don't do carrot or potato peels in our sink. Of course, if you compost, do that. Super fast, always sharp. Love the Sharple, and of course we have this available in our store. Our store has the best, most clever, most useful gadgets, and I'm pretty sure you don't have one of these self-sharpening vegetable peelers in your kitchen. If you don't, I would love to send you one. You can see the link on the screen to our store. You can find this and amazing other goodies that we often feature here on the show, so check those out. We're coming to the end of our carrot peeling session. This is kind of one of those like kitchen activities that like it takes a few minutes, but it's like, as my boys would say, so satisfying. You just kind of have a moment, you know, in your kitchen with your peeler and your veggies. And then I'm just gonna slide all this right into the trash can. But before I do that, we need to, this is why I wanted to leave a little space on the cutting board so I could quickly cut these and get them into the slow cooker. So you can see how fast this is to get going. So these, you could even put them in like this. The slow cooker is easily gonna cook, soften a whole carrot, but I'm just gonna cut them into half just to make them a little bit easier to serve later, but you do not have to do that at all. All right. So again, these are gonna add flavor, and then of course you can enjoy them easy vegetable with the chicken that you have later. The last thing we need to do before we put the lid on and let this slow cook the day away is season it. And I'm just gonna use a little garlic powder and a little salt and pepper. If you didn't use onion, now would be where you would sprinkle in the onion. And I'm just gonna go right onto the veggies and directly onto the top of the chicken here. Just a big, probably 2 pinchfuls of salt. Love prep dishes for just this reason, just quick grab. 2 pepper right on top, and of course you can add a little bit more salt after it's all cooked if you need to salt the chicken stock once it's finished. We'll get to that here after it's cooked. I'll show you how all of that works, but for now we are going to slow cook this whole chicken and these veggies on low for 8 hours, and we'll be back at the end of the day to pull all of the meat and the bones apart so you end up with this gorgeous shredded chicken and some veggies and of course some stock. The slow cooker has finished cooking our whole chicken, and now it is time to take the chicken out, the vegetables out, strain the broth that is in there, and then we will pull the chicken apart. We're gonna do all that here right now. So let's take a look, nice and toasty warm. So I'm gonna take the chicken out using, I'm trying to do it as a whole, it's still whole, using tongs and a large spatula, if you will. And if any other veggies come out with it, that is fine. I'm gonna use a rimmed platter here because it will be a little juicy. I don't want, we got one of the thighs fell off, but that's okay. I don't want the juice, I sometimes might do this on a cutting board, but I don't want the juices to go everywhere. So I'm gonna do this. And then I'm gonna let this, you can see it's happening. We're going to let this cool down for a minute while we then strain off all of the vegetables and the broth. And then we'll come back to pulling this apart. So I have here a strainer, a colander, and a bowl. And then I'm gonna transfer this into a measuring cup. You'll see here in just a second. So I have carrots, celery, and onion in here, and we're just gonna go all in, just like that. So there we go. We're gonna let that drip for a second. You could let the stock sit in here and then let the fat harden and skim it off here, but I find it easier to do in a measuring cup. It's a little less surface area, and then I can use this for measuring and diluting into 2-cup portions. So this is 3 cups even of the straight stock, and I will dilute that. We'll do that here in just a minute. But for now, we're gonna let this sit. You'll be able to see the fat layer separating from the stock, and we will then skim this off, but I'm gonna let it cool a little bit. It's a little easier to skim off once it has started to solidify, and then we can dilute the stock that's in there. I'm just gonna take the veggies out of here so I can get this strainer cleaned up. I'm just gonna put these on a side. You can use however many veggies you want. Baby potatoes, gold potatoes, red potatoes, russet potatoes, also fabulous additions. It all cooks there together. So these are just gonna be part of your side dish. You know, just have a bite of the super soft and super delicious carrots and celery with each bite of chicken. So with the whole chicken, you know, you can use a knife. There will be parts you can use. It's super tender. Like literally, I couldn't have scripted that, friend, okay? Literally just fell off the bone. So we need to separate the bones from the meat. We're just gonna mix it all up. I usually just use my hands. If you're, you know, remove the skin, any big fat pieces. Again, it's so tender. That's another reason I love doing the chicken in the slow cooker is it literally is falling apart, and it's super easy to grab the meat. So I'm just starting with the thigh because that is what fell off when I took it out of the slow cooker, and just picking apart all of the meat. This is that dark meat that's going to add such that extra depth of flavor. You know, I feel like boneless, skinless chicken breast is kind of like the star of a lot of recipes, chicken recipes, but there's so much flavor in the dark meat, so we want to make sure to grab all of that. And we are going to be shredding this all together. So these little tiny pieces are already kind of that shredded state, if you will. But again, fat and bones and skin over here, and any pieces of chicken going into the other plate. Okay, now there is quite a bit of stock still on this plate, so I'm actually going to very carefully, I think this is cooled down enough. I'm going to very carefully just transfer as much as I can into here. Get another half cup or so. Okay, drumsticks. These are gonna fall apart. So there have been occasions where like they'll actually stay together, and in that case, I'll just pull it off. Here you go, son. I have one of my boys who really loves the drumstick. Don't be shy. It's very easy to see the difference between the skin and the fatty pieces and the meat. It's very easy to tell. Now, we have a stock already from this. So you can make more stock if you wanted to take these bones and these extra fatty pieces and make another batch of stock. You could do that. Just add everything into a pot of water and just boil it for a little while. Then you can stretch it out even further. So you'll get this, well, I'll dilute that. So that'll probably be about 8 cups and another 4 cups or so from this. That's just an option to really just stretch this out. It is a little bit more time consuming, I would say, but when you're needing to save money and you don't want to buy cans or boxes or bouillon base, like anything less you need to buy these days, I am here for that. It's not a hard thing to do. It just takes a little bit of time. So we are all the way through with the dark meat. A couple more pieces here. It's cooling off. It just takes a couple minutes to cool off. Just in the time that I poured that out, it really cooled off enough to get after. Here's more of that thigh. The whole chicken, especially when you cook it this way, it's so easy when you cook it this way. Like literally this took, you saw, it took like minutes to put this together. The thing that took the longest was peeling the carrots, okay? So, all right, this bottom part, we do not need, and I actually can grab the breastbone and pull it out. It makes it a little bit easier to, this is pretty much all what's going to be going into that other bowl of stock. The tenderloin, one of them fell off the bottom side of that chicken breast. So this piece is now pretty much all chicken. So you do what you wish with the skin. A couple more. So that is what I actually like doing it that way, where you kind of pull off the bottom and then you can pull the breastbone and the wishbone out. And then this is like, I'll leave them whole so you can kind of see. So here's the tenderloins on the bottom. It's just going to pull right off. Side note for you, this has nothing to do with the whole chicken, but the tenderloin part of the chicken breast makes the very best chicken salad. It's so soft. Obviously it's called the tenderloin because it's the most tender part of the chicken, but it's so soft. And when you shred it and mix it in with that mayonnaise or that yogurt, it makes delicious, delicious chicken salad. So anyways, there you go there, side note. And then all of this, again, we can transfer and use for our second round of stock, if you will. Here's the mountain. And the dogs are like, Mother, I would like some of that, please. And I'm like, super sorry, this is for us. So we have our white meat, our dark meat. We're gonna put all this together into a bowl, mix it all up. This is easily gonna serve my family 2 meals, depending on what you're mixing it with. You can put it into a pasta bake. It could be 3 meals worth, something like that. So make the most of this amazing chicken that you got on super sale, the cheapest option of chicken that there is. So we're gonna shred this. I'm just gonna transfer it into that same bowl. This is so tender. And I've already pulled out the bones and the fat. So all I need to do, I'm just gonna take my tongs and just kind of turn it almost, and everything's gonna just fall apart and it's just gonna mix nicely. You can use 2 forks. You could use those meat claws. Some people put it in like their stand mixer and just use the main dough paddle, but it just shreds really easily. And I'm just using tongs. It just takes a second to do. From here, we can do a couple of things. You could use this. It's gonna have a very mild flavor. You could add other sauces to it, other condiments. You could just eat it plain with chicken. I have one boy that would just love it just like that. You could also then let it cool down completely and then freeze it into 2 or 3 cup portions to then use in a recipe later. I love it when I have shredded chicken already kind of cooked and shredded in the freezer, so then I can just grab it, thaw it out really quickly, toss it into the pasta bake or the stuffing bake or whatever it is. It's just like having like, you know, basically prepped rotisserie chicken already ready to go. I don't love it when I find a recipe and I'm like, oh yay, that's gonna be easy. And like, oh, I don't have any cooked chicken. I gotta cook the chicken first. So it's just one less step. And you know, you got the chicken on super sale as well. So this, we're gonna let cool down and transfer it into bags for the freezer. And now we are going to skim off the fat. This has cooled down a little bit. I'm just gonna use a ladle. This is the Flexi ladle that we have in the store. And you can see where the fat and the stock is separated. So of course, if you leave some fat in there, that is actually fine. It's gonna help a little bit with the flavor, but we don't need all of it. So I'm just gonna take the ladle, and if I get a little bit of stock in there, it's a different color. It's easy to see. The fat's more yellow, the stock is more brown, and I'm just gonna skim off as much as I can and transfer it into, I'm gonna like press the ladle against the side and like see about grabbing as less broth as possible. I got a little bit in that one. And again, we are gonna dilute this, and a little bit of fat is okay, but I don't want this much. And you'll start to see the edge, if you look on the edge, there's just less fat there now. You can reuse this fat if you'd like. You can discard it. I love this Flexi label because I can like press against the side of this and it takes the shape of the cup and it's just pulling in mostly fat. So from here, we can dilute and then transfer into containers for the freezer. We are going to dilute some for the freezer, but I'm also going to pour a little bit of this concentrated version into this ice cube tray, so then I have a couple of ice cubes I can grab to throw into a stew. This is almost like a combination of like a bouillon versus like liquid. This is just a little combo situation. So we're just gonna do a couple of ice cube trays, leave a little space at the top because it will expand. So the ice cube tray is full. We'll get that transferred into the freezer. And now I'm gonna dilute this. This is about 1.5 cups here. So I'm gonna add a cup of water in here to dilute that a little bit. And that'll give me 2.5 cups, which is actually a great amount for like a soup or meal-sized portion. And then I'm gonna pour that into this baggie. We do have these bag holders in our store as well. The ladle, the pinch mitts, the bag holders, all the goodies that we have in the kitchen. I use them, which is why we have them in the store, because they're the most practical, the most clever, and the most useful. So this, I'm gonna have to be very careful with sealing this up. I normally use these for freezer meals, but they come in real handy for moments like this as well. So I'm actually gonna try and seal and press this and get as much air out of there as possible. There is enough space for that to expand as it freezes as well. So now we have a meal's worth plus several ice cubes worth of chicken stock that I can use. Once this is frozen, I will transfer these into another container, and then you can just grab them however many cubes at a time to flavor your meals. We have everything ready from our whole chicken, and I want to remind you the reason that we're using whole chickens is because they're the most affordable, the lowest price per pound, and you get the most out of them. You can see that we got several meals worth of shredded chicken. We have a number of ice cubes that we can use to flavor meals in the future, as well as a meal's worth of chicken stock in liquid form that we can freeze. Of course, you don't need to freeze it if you're going to use it, the next day or two, but if you're not going to, just add it to your freezer. The other reason that we love to work with whole chickens is, as you can see, it's actually pretty easy. It does take a couple of minutes, but the slow cooker does the majority of the work. It does all the cooking. It makes it super soft, easy to pick apart the meat from the bones. It's also super soft and shreddable, delicious like this, or you can add any sauces or mix into any meals like you would any rotisserie chicken meat. I hope this was helpful. I hope this has empowered you to buy the whole chickens, get to work in your kitchen, stretching them out. This is how we stretch our dollars. This is how we make $5 dinners still work despite all of the recent food price increases. I want this to be helpful for you, to help you in your budget, help you eat healthful meals in your home. If this was helpful, I hope you will like this video. Also subscribe to the channel and to the playlist. We release new episodes in the Learn to Cook on a Budget with Erin series every Wednesday at noon Central Time. Thanks for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.